Tom, the countdown reaches number 6. This guy started the game, but this guy finished it.
And Pedro, I'm sure you're really looking forward to seeing the 8th inning yet again.
Yeah, yet again. I've seen it many times, but once again, don't hurt.
And you know
Not
what?
too much.
As a huge fan of baseball, I'm having a hard time thinking of 5 games that were better than this one. I may be a little biased, but
That's why people will be coming back for the next 5 weeks. But for tonight, it's number 6.
The biggest game, one of sports' greatest rivalries. The Red Sox strike first. It's 2-0 Boston in the second.
Deep to left. Home run, Kevin Millar. 4-0 Red Sox.
Back-to-back hits bring the Yankees to within 2.
With 115 pitches on the night, Brady Little is going to stick with his starter.
He's hit. It's tied. One of the greatest comebacks you'll ever see.
It is midnight in the Bronx. Well, what a perfect way to finish off this ALCS. Pedro Martinez, with all that he brings with him from Saturday's start, coming here to the Bronx to try to get the Red Sox past the Yankees and into the World Series against Florida. On the other side, you've got Roger Clemens, who made his name with the Boston Red Sox, trying to stop them in their tracks and get the Yankees to the Fall Classic.
And for Game 6 on the countdown, Pedro Martinez and Aaron Boone, whom we have seen briefly already, joined by Bernie Williams, the Yankees center fielder of that era. It's another installment of the ongoing Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. It can't get much hotter than this. It's the 26th time they've met, regular season and playoffs combined that year. And something important to keep in mind, the Red Sox are yet to win the World Series since 1918. So the atmosphere is even more desperate for them than it would be a few years later.
In Yankee Stadium for a Game 7. I always thought Game 7 was the best day in baseball. But when you get Game 7 in Yankee Stadium, and also on top of that, it's the first matchup ever of Cy Young winners in Game 7. Not just one either. Roger Clemens and Pedro Martinez have 9 Cy Youngs between the two of them.
At that point.
At that point.
Right.
Pedro, tell me about matched up, not just against the Yankees, but Roger Clemens.
Well, I never really saw Roger as a challenge to me, but my poor teammates were the ones that had to deal with him. And you know, I had my head, you know, my hands full with all these guys, and my head too, because I had to do a lot of thinking to get these guys out.
Now, you had playoff matchups with Clemens before. He got pounded in his return to Fenway for the postseason in '99, the only game that you guys won in that LCS against the Yankees, 13-1. You won Game 3. Earlier in this series, he had beaten you at Fenway 4-3, and that was the game where the benches emptied and you had hit Kareem Garcia, and Clemens threw a pitch that wasn't really that close to Manny, but Manny got upset. That set everything off. Then you went at it with Don Zimmer. There was a lot brewing heading into Game 7.
Yeah, I felt like for the first time I didn't feel sure about coming into New York without probably getting beat up or having someone try to hit me or something.
Need a security escort.
Yeah, I needed a lot of security around the hotel and everywhere I went. I was told not to leave the hotel, so it was a little bit more pressure than people think. And you know, walking down the street, people want to fight me if I was to walk, especially in those, you know, last days that we were here. And you know, it was a little bit different.
Had you patched it up at that point with Zimmer? Had you spoken to him?
No, I haven't spoken to anybody about it, and they wanted me to apologize, and I said, clear and simple, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I was standing there, he told me something, he mumbled something, and I asked him, what? And if you see the replay from that Game 3, I asked, what? What? And then when he got close, he said something really nasty to me, and that's when everything developed.
course, he's 72 years old or 73 or whatever.
At that
it was.
time, I didn't have the time to realize how old he was. I just had to defend myself from a guy that was bull rushing me.
That was, yeah.
That was
when
pure
I see
instinct.
when I see the video, I just see Pedro's eyes just lighting up like this. He's just in shock. He's not believing what is happening, and he just reacted. I guess.
I almost walked towards him to try to just get him up because I didn't really realize in the moment what went on. But he also tried to jab me. And that's when you normally react and you just move away from it.
We just wanted to ratchet up the drama, so we did things like this within the series to make it really good for Game 7.
Yeah.
Did that change the way you felt about him, at least temporarily?
Not to me, though. Don, he should have known better to go out there after him, though. But I always said, you know, without hesitation, every time anybody asks me who's the toughest pitcher that you've ever faced in your career, without hesitation, I say Pedro all the time.
Now, unlike these two guys, where Pedro spent 7 years with the Red Sox when the rivalry was as hot as it ever was, and Bernie spent his whole career with the Yankees. In fact, Bernie had over 100 lifetime at-bats against Pedro. You came over at mid-season from Cincinnati. So how much a part of this rivalry did you feel before that night?
Actually, quite a bit, because I'm a fan of the game, but I had been in the National League. I'd been 6 years now in Cincinnati. And I remember the night I got traded, I talked to Tim Naring, who played a long time in Boston, who was in the front office with the Reds, and he said, you know you're going to a big rivalry. You have no idea. And I was like, yeah, I know it's a big deal. And my first experience going to Fenway Park, going to Boston in August in a, you know, just a regular season game, to see we were staying at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, to see how the people working at the hotel treated me. Or my wife and I were there, and my key didn't work, and he was like, yeah, I'm a Red Sox fan.
2 hours for room service.
Yeah. And then to go
Welcome to Boston.
to go to Fenway Park and experience a regular season game and to see the intensity in the stands, the fights in the stands, Tim Naring was right. I had no idea what I was in for.
All right, let's take a look at the starting lineups, beginning with the Red Sox, who were the visitors. Johnny Damon at the top, followed by Todd Walker, Nomar Garcia-Parra. Manny, who has already hit a couple of homers in the series, is in the cleanup spot. David Ortiz, who had had 8 home runs that season against the Yankees, postseason and regular season combined. Kevin Millar, Trot Nixon, Bill Miller, look at that, 326 for the season. And Jason Varitek hits 9th, but he's a very important guy on this team, a presence on the team.
And this team, Bob, they set all-time franchise records that still stand for home runs, slugging percentage, and OPS. Just a juggernaut of an offensive team.
Okay, here's the lineup that Pedro will face for the Yankees, and as we take a look at it, what comes to mind? Soriano, Johnson, Jeter, Bernie's in the cleanup spot, followed by Matsui, Posada, Giambi, Enrique Wilson, more on that in a minute, and your old buddy Kareem Garcia at the bottom. What are you thinking as you survey that lineup?
Well,
He's thinking he doesn't have to face me. Lucked out.
you know, I'm thinking, well, Enrique Wilson. I'm thinking, but the thing is, I'm so eager to really feel good and beat the Yankees in their ground that it didn't really allow me to think too much about any independent hitter. I'm thinking about winning.
But you mentioned Enrique Wilson. He's in the lineup specifically
That's
for you.
when I
He's
looked at
10
the lineup,
for 20 against you, 7 for 8 in 2003. And Aaron, that's why you're not in the lineup either.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I get to the, you know, I was having a tough series, and I knew Enrique's success against Pedro. So, but I'll be honest, I was, you know, pretty disappointed that here it is, Game 7, this game you dream of, and you're not in there. I mean, you get over that and realize, you know, it's not about you. It's about a chance to go to the World Series here. But there's some disappointment about not being in that lineup.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the pitching pairing. And you want to talk about a script too good to believe? Roger Clemens was 17-9 that year. To that point, he had won 6 Cy Young Awards. He'd go to Houston and win another one. Pedro at 14-4, 3-time Cy Young Award winner. Before we get to the game here, Aaron, while you didn't start, your brother Brett did in the broadcast booth for Fox. So that's another little subplot here. He's looking on from above.
Yeah, that was weird to see him doing something like that in the booth. And but I think for me, it made the story a little more exciting and made that night all that more exciting that he got to be there and experience and share in it.
Okay, let's get to the game. Top of the first, Joe Buck, Tim McCarver, and Brett Boone in the booth.
And the question in everybody's mind, is this it? Is this his last appearance? How fitting, from Boston to New York City, remarkable career, winning 300 games this year.
You know, and at this point, we thought this was Roger's last game. He was retiring, and there were so many games late in that season that were encore games for him, were some of the most memorable moments of my career, seeing him walk off the mound.
Damon retired on a routine ground out. Here's Todd Walker.
Clemens, as you say, has indicated this is the end for him, something he would indicate several more times before it finally did end. So if the Yankees lose tonight, this is Clemens' last game in the majors. That's what everyone thinks.
Well, I think you see early on, you get a taste of what this Boston lineup is all about. They fouled off 8 pitches just in this first inning alone. There's no let-up anywhere in this lineup. And, you know, Todd Walker, very good, as you mentioned, professional hitter getting on base there.
Bernie Williams cuts it off, and Walker is on with 1 out in the first inning for Boston. Garciaparra now. Into right center field, off the end of the bat. Garcia makes the catch, and Walker tags and advances. Good base running. Runner at second, 2 out. RBI chance for New York native Manny Ramirez. Clemens is through the first. It's Pedro's turn.
Garcia squeezes this one as Ramirez flies out, and Clemens is out of the top of the first. And here you go, Pedro.
Here we go.
Yeah, this is interesting. Normally, Fox is going to cut to a commercial, but they stay on you, Pedro, because of the drama.
The reaction from the stands. And as you can see, the first thing security does is come up to me.
I don't think I've ever heard the stadium as loud rooting against somebody that night.
All right, so we've established what the atmosphere was. Alfonso Soriano is the first man you're going to face. In a sense, an atypical leadoff man in that he strikes out a lot. He's a real free swinger, and you know that, Pedro, as you work
I know it. I felt confident every time I faced Soriano that Soriano refused to leave his crouch. And even Bernie was one of them, Paul O'Neill, even Matsui made adjustments to what I was doing. And those were the guys that would give me a hard time most of the time.
So Soriano did what he did a lot. He struck out. Johnson did what he does a lot. He walked. Here's Jeter.
Off the hands. Millar at first and foul.
And right away, Pedro's riding that good fastball up and in that they like to do against Derek. And he got his pitch where he wanted to there.
And with a runner at first, 2 out, Bernie Williams will be the hitter. Opposite way, base hit. 2 on, 2 out.
I knew in the back of my head that Pedro, he would throw, you know, his fastball normally 88 to 91, but he will have those 93, 94 mile-an-hour bullets in his arsenal.
Now here's Matsui.
How did you feel about the stuff and what you wanted to do in the first inning, what you wanted to establish, and what you have on the mound in this game?
Well, I just wanted to get rid of the little kinks that I had about the security issues, and that the game would just go on, you know, and continue to be the game. And once the first inning went in and Clemens pitched his, I pitched mine, everything was back to normal.
Okay, so there were base runners for each team in the first, but nobody scored. Coming up in the second, a longtime Roger Clemens nemesis. We'll get to him again. With Pedro Martinez, Bernie Williams, and Aaron Boone reviewing Game 7 of the 2003 ALCS. No score, top of the second. David Ortiz facing Roger Clemens.
Ortiz, the DH, then Kevin Millar at first, and Trot Nixon in right. Into center field on a line. Bernie Williams makes a tough play, hit right at him.
Looked like that ball knuckled a little bit on you there, Bernie.
Yes, it did. That's probably the hardest ball to field, the one that is hit right at you. Yeah, I
moved around a little bit, the web of the glove.
Yeah. Just grab it, grab it.
1 out, and Millar coming up. Into right center field, tailing away from Williams. That ball will get down, and on a hop, Bernie Williams on another good play holds Millar to a single. 1 on, 1 out. Trot Nixon is coming up.
So with Millar at first, Nixon's ahead on the count, 2-0.
Nixon into right center field. Did he get enough? Yes, he did. The Red Sox strike first. Trot Nixon, a home run to right center field. It's 2-0 Boston in the second.
And that was Trot Nixon's 4th career home run off the Rocket.
All right.
It's remarkable. You can see him take that pitch. It's actually a little bit outside half of the plate.
Yeah. Well, he got
and
extended.
he's on the plate, and he gets extended and hits it out. Absolutely. You know, he was as tough a hitter against Clemens as anybody. Career 500 on-base percentage against Clemens, the highest of anybody who faced him at least 30 times. So that's ownership.
With the bases empty, 2 out, here's Veritek. And he rips one into right field. That ball will take 1 hop and hit the wall. Veritek is going to test Garcia and make it easily into second on the high throw out of right.
And now you have to be thinking, Roger doesn't have it tonight.
Yeah, he left that ball right over the plate. You know, that was one of those hit me kind of balls. I think, you know, as a hitter, if you see a guy like that throwing a lot of fork balls in the dirt, you can almost eliminate that pitch from his, you know, from his arsenal. You know, you see the tumbling, you know it's going to be a ball, so you do not even swing at it. So it gives you more opportunity to hit the fastball.
So now we're back to the top of the order for Johnny Damon. And again, Joe Buck.
The 6-time Cy Young Award winner is ready. His 2-1 pitch. To the left side for Enrique Wilson. His throw sails into the seats. And that'll bring Veritek to the plate to make it 3-0.
You're sitting in the dugout, Aaron, thinking what?
I'm feeling bad because, you know, I kind of put myself in this position where I was struggling, and Enrique had the success, so it was understandable that he was in there, but you felt like, you know, if I was doing my job a little better, I'd be in there, and who knows.
And now red-hot Todd Walker steps in. To the right side, Nick Johnson stays down on it, and the inning is over.
So the Yankees are already down 3-0. It's about to get worse, and coming up next, one of New York's aces is going to have to make his first ever career relief appearance. That's next. Okay, as we continue, Red Sox up 3-0, top of the 4th. Kevin Millar leads off against Clemens. And let's go to WEEI in Boston. Jerry Trupiano has the call.
Clemens to Millar. Swing and a drive. Deep to left. Way back. Way back. Home run, Kevin Millar. 4-0 Red Sox.
Yeah, and at this point, you know, you're feeling pretty bad over in the Yankee dugout. I'm sitting and I'm not part of the game yet, but it's a dark feeling right now in that dugout.
Yeah, I start seeing from center he's starting to miss his spots. So yeah, I started to get a little concerned about the whole situation now.
So now here's Nixon, who had homered earlier off Clemens, draws the walk on the 3-2 pitch, and it's Stottlemyre, not Torre, out to talk to him. A glum Joe Torre in the dugout, and he's got Mike Mussina up in the bullpen now. Maybe if this guy's name is Roger Smith, he's out of the game already. He's Roger Clemens, and even though it's Game 7, there's a little bit of respect paid, but he is dangling by a thread.
Well, don't forget, too, they need time to get Mike Mussina ready to come into this game. Mike Mussina has never made a relief appearance in his professional career. Before the game, Mel Stottlemyre told him, "We will not bring you into this game in the middle of an inning." But he didn't tell Joe Torre that.
Runner goes, hit and run. It works perfectly for the Red Sox. Nixon will go to third. The Red Sox doing everything right so far tonight, have first and third and nobody out.
On the hit and run, Miller grounds the single up the middle, and that finishes Clemens. And as Torre signals to the bullpen, just about everybody in Yankee Stadium thinks Roger Clemens is walking off a major league mound for the last time and walking off likely in defeat. And here we get into one of these unsung moments. If Mussina can do it out of the bullpen.
The unsung job of middle relief, but I think especially in this case, there's a lot of urgency. First and third, no outs. Normally you'd sign up for allowing 1 run.
Yeah.
And being happy with that. I'm not sure, Bernie, if you guys can get down another run here, even though it's first and third and no outs.
Yeah, that was certainly a pivotal moment in the game. I think if Pedro gets into the mound with that extra run, we would be in deep trouble.
All right, so it's Verducci who's going to be at the plate here as they make the pitching change. And as Tom has noted, it's first and third and nobody out. Verducci had doubled his last time up off of Clemens.
Just a remarkable pitch right there. Unhittable.
Curve buried down and in.
Oh, my goodness. I thought that through my career, I saw good curveballs, but Mussina was one of the best I've ever seen.
Well, and you said it, you know, this is Game 7. He's never pitched in relief in his career, and here he is thrown into the fire, getting the stretch in a jam, and he's making pitches like that right out of the gate.
The Yankee infield is in because you hardly ever double Damon. Right. But he hits it sharply enough, and Jeter has the presence of mind to know he can do this, and they're out of the inning.
Yeah.
And that put a lot of wind in our sails right there. I mean, as bad as it was looking, Pedro's dealing, we're down 4. This kind of, like he said, gave us some life and gave us a little bit of belief going on in that dugout.
Okay, as Pedro takes the ball, bottom of the 4th at Yankee Stadium, Derek Jeter leads it off.
And there's that stat, Pedro. You win 95% of the time with a 3-run lead.
I hate those stats.
But see, that's why we play 9 innings and 27 outs.
Yeah.
So Bill Miller throws Jeter out, and now it's your turn, Bernie.
Bernie Williams trying to reach for the second time tonight. On the inside corner, it's a full count.
That's a quarter.
Yeah, that was it. And then, you know,
Perfect
you figure you have, well, it's, you know, 88, maybe 89.
Another 3-2 pitch. Another strikeout for Martinez, 4 on the night.
So if you guys were bolstered by the way Mussina got you out of the top of the inning, minimizing the damage, Pedro has set down the first 2 guys in the bottom half. Now here's Matsui.
Did he take me deep?
He not all the way, but over Damon's head.
And he rarely swung at the first pitch, you know.
It's a 2-out double for Hideki Matsui, the Yankees' first extra base hit.
Yeah, one thing about Hideki that I tell people all the time, when I came over there, as great as our team, Bernie, Derek, all guys you want up there in a tough spot, Hideki, I don't care if it was a tough lefty out of the pen brought in to face him, you knew he was going to give you a quality at bat when it counted.
Now it's Posada. Hard hit, but Millar down on a knee, gets it to the bag, and the inning is over.
Bernie, take us into the Yankees dugout at this point in the game when it looks like you have a mountain to climb against Pedro Martinez. There's a lot being said.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, you know, try to, stay the course, not give up. You know, when the last out is made, that's when we, stop the game. But as long as we have an opportunity, we got to keep plugging in and sort of chipping away and hope that Pedro gives us an opportunity to come back into this game. So speaking of chipping away, the Yankees will do just that when we come back on MLB's 20 Greatest Games. As we continue with Game 6 of our countdown of the 20 greatest games, we go to the top of the 5th. Mike Mussina now in his second inning of work in relief of Roger Clemens. It's still 4-0 Red Sox. Lines one into left field for a base hit.
I mean, do they have an all-star at every spot in this lineup, 1 through 9?
Yeah,
it's remarkable. Their offense comes from the top, the middle, and the bottom.
And there's nothing surprised seeing Nomar hit a breaking ball up and pounding it. He was,
especially on the first pitch.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Notorious first pitch hitter.
And one of the few guys in your lineup that was just go up there and, a little change of pace.
And here's Manny with an opposite field single.
Yeah.
2 on, 1 out here.
Manny used to kill the Yankees. It didn't matter what team he was. Cleveland, Boston, anywhere. He's killing Yankees. Todd Walker had begun the inning by flying out. And then Garcia-Parra and Ramirez followed with the singles. Here's Ortiz.
2 on with 1 out, and Ortiz strikes out, 2 away.
That was nasty.
That was nasty.
Yep.
That was like the changeup.
Yeah. Bottom fell out of that.
Circle change.
And now Millar, whose homer was the beginning of the end for Clemens.
Jeter to his left.
Jeter finishes the inning, and the Sox strand 2. So even though you're up 4-0, you've had a couple of chances to break it open, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah, exactly. We should have scored more.
Giambi hits a high fly to deep center. Damon back on the track. He's at the wall. Gone!
And this was a big hit for Jason here because, you know, he had been struggling a little bit. And for him to get a big hit, it just, when people ask me about this game, what strikes me is the amount of heroes we had that night. Started with Mike Mussina, obviously getting those, and then Jason hitting the first of 2 homers that just kept giving us life, kept us in the game, gave us a chance.
Well, he's down in the lineup hitting 7th, as you mentioned. He's not really swinging the bat well. He had a bad knee that year, especially in the second half of the season. But first pitch here, Pedro, looked like he ambushed you a little bit here. What happened there first pitch?
I think so. I wasn't expecting Jason to actually swing at that first pitch. Same thing with Matsui. Those were 2 guys that would normally take 1 or 2 pitches to see what you were trying to do with them, and everything changed. We were talking about making adjustments in the middle of the game or whatever. For a hitter, it's easy to just go back and say, hey, he's throwing the first pitch strike, because the strategy was to let me get deeper into pitches. So I was going strike 1 to anybody. And, you know, they ambushed me a couple of times there.
That was John Sterling on the call on Yankees radio. So the leadoff homer on the first pitch in the bottom of the 5th makes it 4-1. Yeah. But if you guys think that this means Pedro's weakening, not just yet, because Enrique Wilson flies out and then Karim Garcia comes to the plate.
Karim, I could sense he was so fear. I mean, he was so, I want to get out of there.
Veritek almost standing as that pitch is brought home. 2 out as Martinez gets his 5th strikeout. That's on the inside corner to end the inning. That delayed strike 3 call by McClelland surprises Soriano and this crowd at Yankee Stadium.
All right, we've got a 4-1 ball game now. We're going to skip ahead after the break to the 7th inning and pose this question. Why can't Pedro get Jason Giambi out?
That was one night. That was one of those nights.
Well, we go to the top of the 7th. Left-hander Felix Heredia comes in for the Yanks.
0-2 to Damon. And here's the 0-2. Swung on and missed strike 3. A day late and $1 short. If the Yankees somehow do come from behind, then there must be something to this curse business. Foul near the third base dugout. Enrique Wilson is there, and he makes the catch for the 2nd out of the inning.
Jeff Nelson comes on for the Yanks. It's 4-1 Red Sox, and here is Garcia Parra.
And now the 2-2. Swung on a missed strike 3 on the slider, and the inning is over. The Red Sox lead the Yankees 4-1 in Game 7 of the American League Championship Series.
So once Roger Clemens had been chased, Joe Torre's bullpen is really doing the job holding the fort. First Mussina, now in the top of the 7th, Heredia, the left-hander, and Jeff Nelson do the job to keep it 4-1. Pedro on the mound, bottom of the 7th. To this point, you have thrown 79 pitches going to the bottom of the 7th. You feel fine, right?
Feel fine.
All right. Hideki Matsui will lead it off. Here we go.
As Matsui hits the first pitch to second. Picked up by Walker. Wide throw, but out. 1 away in the bottom of the 7th inning.
And there was another first pitch from a real patient
But you know
hitter.
what happened? He ambushed me earlier.
And you were
so
going to be a little more...
I synced that ball low, and he fell for it.
So here's Posada.
Posada into right center field. Damon on the move. 2 out.
2 up, 2 down, and Giambi. Now, what are you thinking? He hit 1 out his last time up. There's Brian Cashman trying to remain optimistic. What are you thinking as Giambi settles in?
I'm going right after him. Right after him.
Into right center field. Damon back at the track, at the wall. It is gone for another Giambi.
He came really close to catch it, though.
Yeah, but that ball, I think, he hit a good pitch.
Yeah, I mean, that pitch might have been off the plate.
It might have been a little out over the plate.
See?
He got extended.
Yeah, he got extended out there. Out there, that's far off.
He was
the plate.
strong enough that he could hit a ball in the good part of the bat and it'll go.
And right now, just a little more hope for us in the dugout. Like, okay, we're in this thing now. And you definitely sense that on our side compared to, like, the 4th inning where it was looking pretty dark over there.
All right, Enrique Wilson is up next. Joe Buck, Tim McCarver at the mic.
Ground ball, that's a fair ball. What a play by Millar.
Well, that is really a nice play by Millar, but he can't get to the bag in time. It's a weird hop.
Pedro, did you think you had the out if Millar flips it to you right away?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Yeah, he should have flipped.
I was there.
I think because it took such a funny hop that it just threw Millar off completely.
I passed by the bag, and
it was a tough angle for him to make the flip, but still.
Oh, yeah, you can see at that angle, if he makes the flip, he gets him. Garcia didn't appear too frightened that time.
No,
he singles to right.
But that's sweet spot for him. Low, middle, in. Every lefty hits that.
There's Dave Wallace, the pitching coach. Brief visit.
You know, Pedro, I thought this was an important part of the game. First inning, you had to work 10 pitches out of the stretch and cruise through the middle innings. And now you were 1 out away from getting through this inning without any damage at all. And the Yankees actually make you work. Even this at bat here with Soriano, you have to go 6 pitches here. And you're pointing to the sky there. Now, Pedro, you normally do that when you're done with a game.
Yeah, because the pitching coach had already come over. Get out of this. This is going to probably be it.
So when you point to the sky and Nomar's hugging you in the dugout, you think you're out of the game.
I'm done. I'm done.
So on some level, you probably shut it down a little mentally right
Mentally, I was like, okay, it's a good game. Our guys have been doing the job, and I'm thinking, well, this is it.
So you struck out Soriano. That's the 4th time he struck out in the game. You completely owned him. Was Wallace maybe just trying to encourage you, get this guy and we're fine? Or was he specifically saying, get this guy and you're done?
The feeling was that I was done after I get the next out, and then the bullpen had me. That's pretty much what he said.
So then what did Grady say to you while your team was batting in the top of the 8th?
Well, they went back and forth, and they didn't know how to tell me that, you know, if I could just go ahead and get Nick Johnson out, because they didn't feel like Avery could get Nick Johnson. We had been burned earlier in the regular season. Like every time Alan Embry came in, Nick Johnson would get him, because they had him for Nick Johnson and I think Matsui. Also the 2 guys he'll face.
Embry, the left-hander.
Embry. And Embry didn't do well. So they wanted me to go back to get Nick Johnson. That was specifically the words I was told.
So he says, not go out, see if you can complete the game, but no, go out and work to Nick Johnson. How about that?
And the bullpen has you after that.
All right, well, Jeff Nelson, first of all, has to start the top of the 8th for the Yankees. He gets Manny Ramirez to ground out, but then Joe Torre comes out and yanks him because he wants the left-hander, David Wells, all hands on deck in a Game 7. So Wells, normally a starter, will come out of the bullpen here to face Ortiz.
You say all hands. It's not just any hands. We've seen Roger Clemens, Mike Mussina, and David Wells. It's more than 700 career wins in 1 game. Pretty nice going to the bullpen for Mussina and now Wells.
This is his first pitch to Ortiz.
As Ortiz gets into 1 to right. This one is at the wall and gone. David Ortiz greets David Wells with a first pitch home run to right. It's 5-2.
He hung a curveball and Ortiz just hammered it.
And I remember Boomer felt pretty bad about this because, you know, he felt that swing we were having, like we were back in this thing. And I know when he came in the dugout, he was pretty upset. A guy who, you know, we counted on a lot and pitched so many big games for us. I know he was really frustrated right now.
Ortiz's 8th homer of the 03 season, regular season and playoffs combined, against the Yankees. And look at Wells. I mean, it's so unusual for David to utter a profanity. So you know he must have really been upset to let a curse word slip in a situation.
I told you he was upset. Pedro, at this point, where are you?
This is not fun.
Where are you? And tell me mentally, if you, obviously, you thought you were out of the game.
I did let go a little bit. I was like, and I didn't go in just because I don't normally do it. I wait for the reliever to come in, and I, you know, just in case, whatever, anything happens, see him and kind of welcome him to my game. And I was always respectful of, you know, my relievers coming to pick up for me. And I sat down there, and then all of a sudden, towards the end of the inning, I see a little conversation, and Grady just comes up and, well, can you get Nick Johnson out? And that's when I said yes.
Well, the Red Sox, in their bullpen, they've got Alan Embry, the left-hander. The right-handers, they've got Scott Williamson and Mike Timlin. They've been pitching great in this series. The Yankees are hitting 139 off those 3 pitchers. And in fact, Dave Wallace, the pitching coach, was so sure himself that Embry was coming in for Johnson that he took out his lineup card, scratched your name out, and wrote in Embry. A lot of people were expecting to see Embry on Johnson, and then the right-handers come in.
I think that was a matter of feelings from Grady. Grady just didn't feel confident enough to actually put Embry in and take me out. And, you know, I've gotten Nick out, you know, quite a few times. And it was a tough out. Nick was a tough out. But I got him out somehow. And he wanted me to get him out.
Okay, hold that thought, because when we come back, it's the fateful bottom of the 8th.
First up, Nick Johnson pops up. Garciaparra waits for it. 1 out in the 8th. The Red Sox 5 defensive outs away from heading to the World Series.
Okay, Pedro, they've asked you, can you get Nick Johnson?
Yes.
You told him you could, and you did. He popped up. Now, the next hitter is Derek Jeter. You must be looking, where's Grady? But no Grady.
No Grady. And I just kept on doing what I was supposed to do, pitch.
All right, 5-2 is the score. 1 out, bottom of the 8th. Even this kid knows that the Red Sox are 5 outs from the World Series.
Jeter flies into right, Nixon back. On the run.
Now, he misplayed that ball. Got a bad read on it or something, stumbled a little bit over his head.
And normally a very good outfielder. Those things happen when they're going to happen. And
No 0-2 pitch here, Pedro. Obviously, you want the ball up. You see Veritek asking for it up.
And I did. I did. You just have to give Jeter credit. And
Yeah, he made a good adjustment.
yeah.
All right, Bernie, you come up. You get hold of one here. It's a 1-run game. What's your approach?
My approach there is basically just thinking in terms of not really being a hero, just to have a good at bat and keep the motion going. Just keep the offense going. I have, you know, all my focus. This is, you know, my biggest at bat of the game right here, and I'm trying to concentrate on what I need to do.
What were you looking for?
I am looking for something that I can hit up the middle.
So you're not thinking home run.
Smart hitter. Smart hitter.
Into center field. Damon will play it on a hop. Jeter will come to the plate. It's a 2-run game.
Now here comes Grady trotting out there, which usually indicates he's not walking slowly. The trot usually indicates he's there to talk to you, not to yank you.
Yeah, but I couldn't realize that, and I was busy looking around my teammates and figuring out what to do.
So what is he asking you here, Pedro?
He's asking me if I could get this next guy out.
Matsui.
Matsui. And I said, yeah, of course. You know, I didn't feel tired. I didn't know the amount of pitches I had at that point. And I still believe that even though they got to some pitches, that I'm going to get the next guy out. And I had the stuff to get them out. I did it previously. I did it early in the inning. And I threw some good pitches to you, Bernie. And I still believe I had good enough stuff to finish the game.
But when he asks you if you can get Matsui, are you now thinking, this is my last batter?
This is my last batter. This is going to be your last batter. Those were some of the words he said. If we can get this guy out,
this is about your 5th straight last batter.
And to be honest, over on the bench, when Grady went back to the dugout, we were surprised. We thought he was definitely, that was it. And to see him stay out there, it was like, all right, they're going with their guy.
Well, Matsui's the hitter. He's the tying run at the plate. It's a 5-3 game now. Pedro's still in there, and here we go.
That was painful right there.
Yeah.
That was painful.
It's a sinker. Remember, I got the ground ball in the previous at bat on that pitch?
Yep.
If you're going to swing at this again.
Right.
Give me that ground ball, and I'm out of it. But it didn't.
I mean, just more quality pitches, right?
Uncomfortable pitches. Those are not pitches that are saying Pedro's tired.
Right.
Yeah, the
you
first
just have to give the other team credit and tip your hat and you know, let it go.
Here's the 0-2 pitch.
Ripped into the right field corner fair. Bernie Williams will dig. It's a ground rule double.
So, Bernie, you were thinking about scoring, but it's a ground rule double.
Yeah. All the way. I'm thinking about scoring all the way there.
So they stop you at third because the ball hops up into the stands or a fan touched it.
Yeah.
So at that point, they've got to stop you at third.
Yeah, you got to rely on your third base coach because you can't really see the ball behind you. So.
Ball just came back.
Just a little too much. It wasn't a bad pitch, but it wasn't quite
Not
in
for
where
him.
you wanted it. Right.
Not
Well,
for
your
him.
velocity is still good, obviously, but didn't you say that as you begin to get a little fatigued, it's the command that goes before the velocity?
Yeah, that's what happens. But you still can click it and sometimes get away with mistakes if you have velocity and if you have power. And obviously, the breaking balls were breaking pretty good, but they weren't as as well located as they were earlier.
So here's Posada, another nasty breaking ball for strike one. Posada, of course, a switch hitter, a somewhat better hitter right-handed. I don't know if Grady Little is thinking about that or not.
How are you wanting to get Posada out in this situation?
Oh, believe me.
No, but how are you going to attack him?
Like that, breaking ball. I'm thinking if he doesn't swing at this fastball, this is not a put-away fastball. This is a show-me fastball.
A flare into center field. Out as Walker won't get it. The base running of Matsui. He comes home. Nobody covers second. Tie game.
Yeah,
Bedlam.
Well, you're throwing him curveballs.
But that's a show-me pitch.
Yeah.
That was just in to actually show and then throw the breaking ball. That was the plan we had.
And now here's Grady. 4 straight hits, all of them with 2 strikes on the batter, but 4 straight hits. And now what does he say to you?
Oh, that's it. That's it. Good job. You gave me everything you have. I say, yeah, that's fine. And I do like I would normally do.
All right, now, Tom, we asked Grady Little if he wanted to be part of this panel. Grady's a nice guy. He thought about it, but it's a painful thing because to many fans, this decision or non-decision defines his entire managerial career. So what did he tell us?
Well, he was very gracious about it, just wasn't interested, as you mentioned, in reliving what obviously is a very painful moment for him. But I thought it was interesting, his explanation about this inning. And Pedro, maybe you can talk about this as well. Going back to Game 5 in Oakland in the ALDS, you pitched 7 innings. He used his bullpen for the final 6 outs of that game, knowing he had Derek Lowe at the back end of 4 relievers that he used behind you. In this game, he doesn't have Derek Lowe. And I think the response that he gives is interesting because there's no Derek Lowe available in this game. And this is what Grady Little told us. When people ask why, I just tell them to look at the replay of the 9th inning of the 5th game in Oakland. That will give them a good idea, especially with Derek Lowe not being able to come out of the pen that night in New York.
I just think that Grady it felt like he had the better chance he could probably get having me out there than putting someone else. And it probably happened because I was there for him all year.
Well, Pedro, I have to take you back to that moment when you're walking off the field. We talked at the beginning of the show about all the emotions that went into this game before the game even began. Now you were 5 outs away from pitching your team for the World Series. The lead is lost, and you're walking off the field at Yankee Stadium, much to the pleasure of Yankee fans. What's in your heart at that moment?
What's in my heart? Well, I did the best that I could. I'm at peace. I thank God for whatever happened that day. And I'm just walking in to the dugout, and, I contributed. If we're going to win, we can still win it if we get out of this, and we got out of it. And if it wasn't for one guy I have here on my left, I would have probably been in the World Series twice.
What's the feeling at this point? Now it's 5-5. You were smack in the middle of that inning. What's the feeling on your side of the field?
Oh, we are just, very excited about that. We're just, we're back, and we got Pedro out. We're going to get him out of the game, and we're going to take our chances with the bullpen, which definitely like a lot better than, facing Pedro. So we're very excited about the possibilities, and everything is almost, it's a new game starting right now, and we start from 0.
And speaking of bullpens, as the Yankees are rallying, Mariano Rivera gets up in the Yankees bullpen as the Yankees start chipping away. And on Posada's hit, Mariano's throwing in the bullpen, and the game is tied. And Posada said that was the loudest he ever heard the stadium when he was on second base. Mariano actually got off the mound in the bullpen, had to walk into the bathroom in the bullpen. He started crying because the moment was that powerful. Didn't want anybody to see him, but he just lost it.
Well, the game is now tied. Jorge Posada is at second base after the game-tying hit. And finally, Grady Little has gone to the bullpen. There is Alan Embry, the left-hander, in to face Jason Giambi, who had hit the 2 home runs against Pedro.
Giambi breaks his bat.
On the broken bat, Damon makes the catch on the shallow fly, so Giambi is retired, and that's going to be the only hitter for Embry. And this time, Little will go to Timlin. Torrey's going to counter by sending up Ruben Sierra to bat for Enrique Wilson. All right, so they intentionally walk Sierra.
Now remember, this is Wilson's spot in the lineup.
But here's something. Right, he's batting for Wilson, so you're going to need a third baseman. So Sierra is yanked after getting the walk, and who runs for him? Aaron Boone.
Yeah, and even though it's base running, you know, for me as an everyday player, like Moose coming in, this is a weird situation to be plunked now in Game 7. You're running the bases. It's game on.
And now Timlin walks Garcia on 4 pitches. Bases loaded, 2 out.
1 ball, 1 strike, bases loaded, 2 out. Tie game in the 8th. Off the mound to Walker. What a play by Todd Walker.
I was on second base here, and I thought this was a hit right off the bat. And Walk wasn't always known for his glove, and he made some great plays in this game.
Watch the ball hit the mound here.
Yeah, I mean, Sorry can't do anything right, man. When it rains, it's poor. He hits the ball, probably the best ball he has hit in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
And he gets, you know, he gets nothing to show for it.
Yeah, after 4 strikeouts, he makes a bid for what could have been the game-winning hit. Walker saves the day, but the Yankees have scored 3 to tie it. It's a 5-5 game, and obviously Torrey's not going to wait for a lead. We're into a sudden death situation for the home team, so he's going to go to Rivera right now.
Automatically. And think about where we're at. The series is tied, obviously, 3 games apiece. The game is tied, 5 runs apiece. Each team has exactly the same number of runs in this series. You've seen each other 26 times this year. You really think it's going to end in 9?
Absolutely not.
No, don't think so.
Pedro, where did you go? You were on the bench as the 8th inning concluded. What did you do after that?
After that, I went in and I took the sweaty clothes off and I came back.
So you were on the bench as the game played itself out?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I was there. I had to be there with my teammates, and even though they tied the game, I thought we were going to still outplay them.
Quick break, and it's the 9th inning when we come back. All right, so with the Red Sox 5 outs from the World Series, 5 outs from vanquishing the Yankees with Pedro on the mound, the Yankees have scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th. The game is tied 5-5, and Mariano Rivera is on to pitch the top of the 9th for New York.
And now it's Veritek. To the right side and through.
That hit by Veritek comes with 1 out after Bill Miller had grounded out to open the inning against Rivera. Now, Veritek comes out of the game, and Damian Jackson goes in to run for him as Johnny Damon comes to the plate.
The 2-2. Chopper to Boone.
Well, now you feel like you're in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you come into a game like that and it's cold, you know, you get to run the bases, and now you get to play pretty early, it does get you into the flow a little bit and makes you feel a little bit part of the game now.
Todd Walker floats one, caught by Soriano.
I remember off the bat seeing that, and I was like, that's a hit, and I was big sigh of relief when it wasn't able to get over Sori's head.
Watch the late movement on this cutter. It looks like he's squaring it up, but it's off the barrel by the time it gets there.
All right, so it's Timlin who's on the mound, and Nick Johnson pops it up to start the bottom of the 9th for the Yanks.
And you see the looks on those faces, just the intensity. I mean, these playoff games, especially Yankees, Red Sox, seems like they're 3.5, 4 hours, heavyweight. I mean, it's just, at the end of each day, it's like you just take a giant breath.
They're emotionally draining.
Yeah.
Jeter strikes out.
Well, and obviously Grady has no choice but to use the guys here who he was reluctant to go to in the 8th inning.
Yeah.
And as you see here with both Emery and Timlin, they're throwing the ball well.
Once again, Bernie Williams.
Hard hit. Diving stop by Walker from a knee to end the ninth. Wow.
Well, we're going to extra innings in Game 7. These teams have played to a virtual dead heat all season long. It almost seemed like it was fated to happen. Game 7 of the 03 ALCS goes to the 10th. Noma up against Rivera.
And I know a lot of people are thinking, how long can Rivera pitch? Because behind him, really, Torrey, he's got Gabe White and Jose Contreras. That's pretty much it at this point.
A 2-2 from Rivera. Soriano. 2 out.
Well, the last time Rivera had pitched more than 2 innings was a year and a half prior to that.
He's going to wind up throwing 3 innings, which is the first time he's done that in 7 years. As we've talked about many times in this game, this is a completely different animal. Game 7.
Here's David Ortiz, who has homered this evening, 1 out of 4. Down the left field line, into the corner. Matsui will play it.
So Ortiz with the 2-out opposite field double. And Rivera has faced some trouble in his first couple innings of work.
Yeah, and there's a pitch that he left out over the plate, and to Ortiz, you know, maybe fortunate that he just shot it the other way and didn't get a good
but
power
you know
swing.
what? It's not his normal out pitch. That was a fastball. That was a straight fastball.
Yep.
Jeter still tied as we go to the bottom of the 10th inning.
So Millar popped out. It's nearly midnight at Yankee Stadium as the Yankees bat in the bottom of the 10th. Tim Wakefield to the mound, winner of 2 games as a starter earlier in this series. It didn't have any bearing as it turned out, but Grady Little had Gabe Kapler run for David Ortiz after the double. So Ortiz is out of the game, which is an interesting move. Matsui retired.
Posada now.
After sitting for 3 hours, 4 hours, did you have any chance to get swings in anywhere to get yourself prepared for an at-bat?
Yeah, and you know, throughout the game, you go up every couple innings and you're stretching out. You might want, I think I wandered down to the cage once and just got some flips in just to try and stay loose and just trying to stay mentally into this game, knowing anything could happen.
That one was way foul, not even close, but nonetheless, it reminded you that Giambi had homered twice earlier in the game, and this time he flies out.
Shallow left, Manny Ramirez in, Miller out, and it's Ramirez.
So down go the Yankees, and we go to the 11th, and Wakefield has worked the perfect 10th.
And obviously, Wakefield is a kind of guy. He pitched, I know you mentioned game 1 and game 4, but he can pitch all night with that knuckleball. So if you're thinking about who's behind him, it could be a while.
We'll step aside for just a moment, and when we come back, Aaron Boone's only at-bat of the game, and it's the only one he needs. Okay, we're about to look at the top of the 11th inning. Red Sox hitting against Mariano Rivera. Rivera for the season 5-2, ERA 1.66. He had 40 saves. His career postseason ERA to this point was under 1, but he hadn't gone more than 2 innings in 3 years in any game. So has Torrey tipped his hand? Are you hearing anything? Are you thinking this is his last inning? How long can he go?
I didn't hear anything.
No, and you got the sense that Mariano's staying out there till this game ends, one way or the other. And like you said, we had to use up most of our pen, most of our key guys in tough spots early in the game. So we were riding Mo to the end.
Yep.
All right, and he looks strong in the top of the 11th, as you see. Trot Nixon leading off.
1 out.
Nasty.
That's a backdoor cutter.
Yeah.
At the plate, Miller. And a squirter up the middle. A lot of spin on it. Soriano makes the play. 2 out.
So he jams the batting champion, Bill Miller. That's the 2nd out. And now here's Doug Mirabelli, who is the catcher because Veritek had been yanked for a pinch runner earlier.
And also to catch Wakefield.
And look at this inning. I mean, he was getting strong. I mean, he just absolutely mowed those guys down right there.
You know now that you're leading off in the bottom of the 11th. As you come trotting from third base toward the dugout, what's going through your mind?
Well, like I said, I've been having a tough series, but I actually had a feeling I was going to do something good, believe it or not, running off the field. Like I felt good, even though I hadn't had much success against Wakefield. I knew I was leading off, but I had a comfortable feeling heading into the dugout.
And you had a little bit of a conversation with Joe Torre before the at-bat.
I did. You know, as I'm walking out to the on-deck circle, Joe just said, hey, man, stay through the middle. Doesn't mean you won't go deep, but just stay through the middle, meaning hit the ball, think up the middle. You know, sometimes when I'd struggle, like a lot of guys, you get a little pull happy and you probably start trying to do things maybe you're not capable. So I think it was his way of just trying to slow me down a little bit mentally.
All right, just for the record, combined between Cincinnati and the Yankees, Aaron had 24 homers, as we mentioned earlier, and 96 RBIs. He leads it off here. But first, let's join Joe Buck, Tim McCarver, and Brett Boone in the Fox booth as we go to the bottom of the 11th.
You're talking about two teams, guys, that are playing for the 26th time this season against one another. Only one win separates these two teams, and now here we are, bottom of the 11th inning in a 5-5 game. This is it's quite a night.
Clearly, time is not an ally of the Yankees either.
I'll tell you what, I've just enjoyed watching it.
Man, a few words.
Good insight from your brother, huh?
That's analysis right there.
I'll tell you, they were 5 outs away in the 8th inning, leading by 3 as Boone hits it to deep left. That might send the Yankees to the World Series. Boone, a hero in Game 7.
All right, they're all waiting for you. It's your moment. Tell us about it.
You know, there's moments in your career and your life that are photogenic. This is not one of them. I learned more from just seeing the replay. But one thing I remember running around the bases is telling myself to look around and take all this in and try and embrace and enjoy this moment. And to this day, it's a real foggy memory for me.
It's foggy.
Yeah, it's very foggy. I see more from watching and seeing everyone's reaction.
Look at Brett. Just a little smile. He's not jumping up and down.
Yeah. And that's the telling. I mean, you know, we were talking earlier.
Right there.
Look at Rivera.
It reminds me of that Charger
Look at
Miami
Pedro.
Dolphin game when they helped Kellen Winslow off the field from exhaustion. That's just Mariano just completely emotionally and physically drained.
You know, Joe Torre said, Tom, and you know better than anybody, you wrote his memoir of his years with the Yankees, that of all the significant and dramatic Yankee games during his tenure, this was the most tension-filled, the most exciting.
No doubt. You can see the emotion on his face here, and Aaron, you're absolutely right about Mariano. It wasn't just the way the game was won, it was the emotion throughout the entire series, and especially, obviously, this night. Mariano was hugging the rubber, giving thanks to the Lord.
Yeah.
You told yourself, take it all in, and yet you say now, almost 8 years later, that it's kind of foggy. But you've seen the replay countless times.
Sure.
What do you think, in retrospect, you think anything different?
No, you know, there's so many times, you know, you hit home runs in your career and you do your thing, you run around the bases, and all I can say is I remember saying, slow down, look around, and drink all this in. And like I said, I got nothing. I got nothing other than watching this and seeing Mariano's reactions. You know, I pick out somebody new to watch and see their reaction, and that makes it more and more real to me.
Let's see how well, if at all, you remember this, because Kurt Menefee, now Fox's football guy, caught up with you on the field afterwards.
All right, Aaron Boone, you struggled so much throughout your postseason with the Yankees. What a time for your biggest hit.
Wow. I can't even talk. This is, oh, you know, silver lining. It's unbelievable. I mean, Mo, so many heroes today, and I just happened to run into one. You got to be kidding me. It's awesome.
That was great.
I mean, I'm not always speechless. You know, I usually have something to say, and Yeah, I mean, just an epic moment
That's
where
awesome.
cat got my tongue, I guess.
After speaking with Aaron Boone, Kurt went over to talk to Grady Little, and here it is.
Pedro battled big, 123 pitches thrown tonight. But give me your thought process there in the 8th inning by letting him stay in even after they got a run in.
Pedro's our man. In situations just like that all season long, he's the one we want on the mound. And he made the pitches like he wanted to. The ball just got in on Posada, and he squeezed it out there over the infield, and that was a game.
All right. And Pedro held forth at his locker after the game with the media surrounding him.
Not a good moment.
Pedro, when Grady went out in the 8th inning to talk to you, what did he say? What was the conversation? Did you say, I want to stay in?
He asked me if I had enough bullets in my tank to get him out, and I said yes. I would never say no. And just like I did, I tried hard, and I did whatever possible to win a ball game. There's no reason to blame Grady. Grady doesn't play the game. We did. I did. If anybody wants to look at somebody and point a finger, they can point it at me. Because I was the one pitching. I was the one that gave up the lead. And you know what? If you want to judge me for that and curse me or do whatever, I'll swallow that because I was out there.
So your story was pretty much the same right after the game as it is here tonight.
Yeah, and I remember feeling so heavy inside about not being able to bring it back to Boston. And, you know, Grady's situation, and the media right away jumped on Grady leaving me in and, you know, second guessing what Grady did. And, you know what, I don't regret it, to be honest. To this moment, I don't regret it. And I'm extremely proud to have, you know, been able to be asked.
You had a private moment with Grady, brief but short.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what he told you.
No, it was just that he was really proud of me and don't worry about him. Whatever happened, happened, and I got nothing to feel guilty about, and that I went down like he expected me to be.
And of course, Grady was fired after that season, replaced by Terry Francona, who tells everybody that if Dave Roberts is out trying to steal in Game 4 in 04, he probably gets fired.
Yeah.
But he's still there, and you were part of the first Red Sox World Championship.
Yes.
The next year, won a game in the World Series against the Cardinals. That was the last game you ever pitched for the Red Sox. You then went to the Mets as a free agent. If you had left Boston without a World Series ring, wouldn't have been the same, right?
No, I wouldn't trade the one I have with Boston for 3 anywhere else.
Bernie, every Yankee fan remembers where they were when the ball went out of the park. Tell us where you were and what you did after it.
I was probably eating a sandwich somewhere in the clubhouse. But all kidding aside, you know, as a young player, you dream about playing in games like this. And it's, you know, you're in the sandlot, you know, with your guys, and just imagine, you know, how things would feel. And I just feel very blessed to have the opportunity to participate in arguably, you know, one of the best games in the history of the game, and being a part of it and being a contributing factor in it as well.
Aaron, obviously a great major league career, part of a great baseball family, but I'm wondering, that one swing, how many times are you reminded by a fan on the street, in a restaurant?
Yeah.
How many days of your life go by where that's not brought up?
I'm blown away by how many Red Sox, Yankee fans there are across the nation.
Yeah.
And if I'm out in public, not a day goes by where probably somebody doesn't, hey, you know, mention it to me in some realm, and usually their experience of where they were or how they remember it. And, you know, it used to be Red Sox fans were really deep down angry, but I think now that they've won a couple, it's all part of how great the story is.
And for you, Pedro, even though obviously it didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to, what's your appreciation to play a part in this game? A bad night, but one I'm assuming you'd still like to remember.
Well, that's a night that anybody, like we all said, everybody as a kid dreams about having a moment. My moment was from first to probably the 7th inning, and then it faded away. And you know what? I think what we had in 2003, how much we suffered for 2003, I think it was rewarded in 2004. That 2004 you know, series, I think, made it even sweeter for us to win it. after losing 2003 the way we did.
Pedro, Bernie, Aaron, thanks to all three of you. When he walked into the studio tonight, Aaron said, wait a minute, this is game number 6? There are 5 games better than this? Well, at least in the consensus opinion of the people here at MLB. So if we've got 5 games better than this one, you don't want to miss any of them. Next week, game number 5 on the countdown. We'll see you then.
As Boone hits it to deep left, that might send the Yankees to the World Series. Boone, a hero in Game 7.
Finish against their century-old rival.